Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Kopijana Ballabha Grihadari Jaya Grihadari Kopijana Ballabha Grihadari Jaya Grihadari Yasodanandana Brajadhanaranjana Jaya Brajadhanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajadhanaranjana Jaya Brajadhanaranjana Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Kopijana Ballabha Grihadari Jaya Grihadari Kopijana Ballabha Grihadari Jaya Grihadari Gopirana Balaba Grivadari Jaya Grivadari. Yasodanandana Brajadanarandana Jaya Brajadanarandana. Yasodanandana Brajadanarandana Jaya Brajadanarandana. Yamuna Dhiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yamuna Dhiravarachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhadakacharya Asadhara Situ Shri Shriman. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol Slava Zabrani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Grangi. Om Agyana Tivanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakans Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitinanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 5, The Demigod's Appeal to the Lord, text number 31. Ime vayam yat priyayaiva tanva. Satvena srishta bahir antad avi. Gatim sukshmam rishayascha vidmahe. Kutan suradya itara pradanaha. Ime vayam yapriyayaiva tanva. Sadvena shrista bahir anta avi. Katim na shukshmam rishayascha vidmahe. Kuto saradya itara pradanaha. Advena shista bahir anta avi. Katim na shukshman rishayascha vidmahe. Kuto saradya itara pradanaha. Mataji. Ime vayam yapriyayaiva tanva. Sadvena shrista bahir antar avihi. Gatim na shukshman rishayascha vidmahe. Kuto saradya itara pradanaha. Ime, these, vayam, we, the demigods, yat, to whom, priyaya, appearing very near and dear, eva, certainly, tanva, the material body, satvena, by the mode of goodness, Shrista, created, Bahi Anta Avihi, although fully aware internally and externally. Gatim, destination. Na, not. Sukshmam, very subtle. Rishaya, great saintly persons. Cha, also. Vidmahe, understand. Kutaha, how. Sura adyaha, the demons and the atheists. Itara, who are insignificant in their identities. Pradanaha, although they are leaders of their own societies. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Since our bodies are made of sattva gun, we, the demigods, are internally and externally situated in goodness. All the great saints are also situated in that way. Therefore, if even we cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are most insignificant in their bodily constitution, being situated in the modes of passion and ignorance? how can they understand the Lord? Let us offer respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. Atheists and demons cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he is situated within everyone. For them, the Lord finally appears in the form of death, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. Atheists think that they are independent, and therefore they do not care about the supremacy of the Lord. Yet the Lord asserts his supremacy when he overcomes them as death. At the time of death, their attempts to use their so-called scientific knowledge and philosophical speculation to deny the supremacy of the Lord cannot work. Hiranyakashipu, for example, was an exalted representative of the atheistic class of men. He always challenged the existence of God, and thus he became inimical even toward his own son. Everyone was afraid of Hiranyakashipu's atheistic principles. Nonetheless, when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared in order to kill him, Hiranyakashipu's atheistic principles could not save him. Lord Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu and took away all his power, influence, and pride. Atheistic men, however, never understand how everything they create is annihilated. The super soul is situated within them. But because of the predominance of the modes of passion and ignorance, they cannot understand the supremacy of the Lord. Even the demigods, the devotees who are transcendently situated or situated on the platform of goodness, are not fully aware of the qualities and position of the Lord. How then can the demons and atheists understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It is not possible. Therefore, to gain this understanding, the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, offer their respectful obeisances to the Lord. Translation again. Since our bodies are made of sattva gun, we the demigods are internally and externally situated in goodness. All the great saints are also situated in that way. Therefore, if even we cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is to be said of those who are most insignificant in their bodily constitutions, being situated in the modes of passion and ignorance? How can they understand the Lord? Let us offer respectful obeisances unto him. Mam Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Siddharne. One of the qualities of Krishna is he's Yashaha. Has unlimited fame. So either someone accepts Krishna or they deny him. In any case, Krishna is the subject, either for acceptance or for denial. Now, why do people deny Krishna? Because Pashanapi na pashati. They're seeing, but they can't see because they've lost their intelligence. Because, as Krishna says, that Dhyayato vishayam svumsam sangas te shupajayate sangas sanjayate kama krodha bhajayate krodha bhavati samoha samaha smriti vibram sat smriti vibram sat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashati. If we don't accept Krishna as the proprietor of everything, the controller of everything, then we ourselves will be forced by the material energy to try to control and enjoy the material energy ourselves. One can enjoy by serving Krishna, or one will have to try to enjoy by serving the senses. Service we have to do, just a question of who we accept as supreme, who we want to subordinate ourselves to. Those who subordinate themselves to their material senses and mind, they'll have to be forced to enjoy sense gratification in which their intelligence is taken away, their spiritual intelligence. Therefore, they may be seeing, but they can't understand. That somehow or another they're not independent. That, for instance, Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, Krishna comes as time, and he takes everything away. Now Krishna is already taking everything away at every moment because his body is constantly changing, and therefore at every moment we're getting a new body. As a matter of fact, the entire universe is changing at every moment. So how can one declare himself a proprietor of something that's always changing? If you go to a river and you stick your hand in the water and said, this water right here is mine, well, it just disappeared, whatever you thought was yours. So we may claim proprietorship over something, but it's disappearing, including our own near and dear body. It's always disappearing. And eventually we have to disappear too from this material circumstance and go somewhere else, to another place which is constantly disappearing. But generally speaking, those who are deluded by the illusory energy, who don't see Krishna in the form of time, taking everything away, they have to admit Krishna takes everything away at the time of death, where they pay full dandavats, and they have to, everything that they thought was theirs suddenly disappears from them. Therefore Arjuna asks Krishna, Akyaki ko bhavanugarupo, namostu te deva raprasida, vigatami chami vamtam adyam, ihi prajanami tava pravitim. Arjuna is asking Krishna, now that you've displayed at least some of your universal form to me, I'm just wondering, what's the whole point? Why are you displaying this horrible feature? And Krishna's response was, Kalos mi krit pravito, lokansa maharta miha pravitak, ritepi tvam nabi vishanti sarve, evastitat pratnyukeshu yoda. Time I am, the destroyer of all the worlds, and I've come here to engage everyone. So we're all equally under time. Time is giving and taking away to all living entities in this world. And everyone here is being engaged by time. And everyone will have to leave their bodies due to time in the course of time. So although time is changing everything, no one can change time. We don't read in the newspaper one day that time grew old. It was so old it died. Now, everything else is coming into existence and disappearing except for time. Therefore, in this world, time is supreme, and we have no influence over time. We may try to influence those things that time is influencing, but because we have no influence over time, it's just a waste of time. Hiranyakashipu, first he wanted to control time and stop from dying, but he was unsuccessful. Even after he tried to get benedictions from the topmost personality in the universe, Lord Brahma, by severe austerity, he was a complete failure. So what to speak of our little selves? What are we going to do to conquer time? The choice is to surrender to Krishna, but the atheists, the demons, they don't want to hear about surrendering to anyone, what to speak of Krishna. Their whole plan is to become Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says, Pravritim cha nivritim cha jana na vido asara nasocham na pichachiro nasatyam teshu vidite. That those who are asuras, they don't know what's to be done and what's not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor truthfulness, nor proper behavior is found in them. So since they don't know what's to be done and what's not to be done, as Krishna says, Mogaisha Moga Karmano, Moga Jnana Vichetasaha, Rakshasim Asrim Chaiva, Prakriti Mohinim shritaha, their hopes for liberation, their cultivation of knowledge, and their fruitive activities are all defeated. They don't know they know they want happiness, they know they want peace, and they're working for it. They're trying to acquire knowledge of how to get it, but because they don't know what to do and what not to do, they don't know what is actually to be done and what's not to be done. Therefore, whatever they do is striving in the wrong direction. If they don't accept Krishna, and they don't accept even his controlling power as time, then they're uselessly wasting their time trying to control time. So their main problem in this world is people believe asatyam apratishtam te jagado horanishwaram aparashparam sambhutyam kemaya kamahaitukam. They say that the world is unreal. Now, who really believes that the world is unreal? Who's acting as if the world is unreal? They say the world's unreal, and they follow their senses, whatever they dictate, but they definitely don't act as the world is unreal. They claim they're not afraid of death, but if you take a gun to their head and say, I'm about to shoot you in the head, they don't, suddenly everything becomes very real to them. Asatyam apratishta jaga ahor anishram. There's no controller. It all came about by accident. But as Prabhupada said, if they believe that everything was accident, so why are they making so many elaborate plans to fulfill their desires? Why won't it come about by accident? Why are they going to the university to study, to get a degree? Why can't they get it just by accident? Why are they working so hard to get money? If everything else came about by accident, why by accident if they won't get all the money they want? Because they don't believe in accident. Only for the universe is an accident, and for their lives it's all planned out. The universe, which is working infinitely more in an organized way than their own lives, they claim is accidental. But in order to get what they want, they have to try to organize their lives. They read volumes of books, they go to conferences to try to figure out how to live life so that they can get what they want. So they don't really believe in organization, in accident. They don't believe everything came about by accident, because everything would include what they're doing also. But they're using their intelligence to get what they want. Parashparam sambhutyam. And interactions between people, they think that produces something. But it's all based on sex desire, kama, to fulfill desire. So they think kama is supreme in the world. That's what's causing everything to happen. Not Krishna, not time, simply sense desire. People are motivated to gratify their senses, and that's a fact. People, because they're not being pushed by Krishna, they're being pushed by their material senses and mind. So that's why the material energy goes on. They don't see, however, that no one is independent and fulfilling desires, that the very body that we have, we didn't create. We were placed in the body by the arrangements of Daivi, by the arrangements of the material nature, Daivi Prakriti, by the material energy. And all we're doing is desiring. Now, because they're atheists, they're demons, and because they have no austerity, they don't understand that they're not the body, and therefore they conclude that they're the doer of everything, that whatever they're doing is being done by their prowess. So even the most elementary knowledge, the difference between the soul and the body, is their intelligence has been taken away. And therefore they simply believe that everything goes on but for sense gratification. But what will be the result? Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano na buddhaya pravanyuga karmana she jagato hita. Following such conclusions and lost to themselves the demoniac create horrible, unbeneficial works meant to destroy the world. So the more one tries to gratify the senses, the more one falls into the mode of ignorance. And in the mode of ignorance, all the things that are valuable, that will actually lead to a better existence, are destroyed. The perfect arrangements made by God to get food by performing sacrifice and therefore getting rain, and from rain comes grain, and from the grains comes the ability to survive in the material world. But the demons don't believe in sacrifice. They believe in exploitation, and therefore the demigods, the Supreme Lord, are not pleased by their attempts to exploit the material nature, and therefore there is improper climate, rain, for instance. People have lost their intelligence. They don't know how to relate to each other. The demigods are not pleased. People are not pleased. Our body, we're doing things to destroy our bodies and disturb our minds, and therefore everything is becoming degraded, and people are suffering more and more under the banner of let's do this to make advancement. If you don't know if you're trying to go somewhere and you don't know how to get there, and yet you want to pretend you know how to get there, and you just start running in the wrong direction, then you'll never get there. No matter how much you proclaim, I know, I have eyes, I know what I'm doing. Andaya tandera bhigimanas te pisha tantra urudami vara. They're blind. They can't understand the difference between themselves and their body. They can't see the controlling force, even of time in this world. What to speak of the person behind time. And yet they're declaring themselves, they know everything. By scientific study, they figured it all out. They can't even see the most obvious thing, that everything we eat has an effect on our body. They say, no, don't worry about your diet. You can just eat anything. It makes no difference what your diet is. Sometimes they recommend a little exercise. But why? What is the exercise? Why just so you get strong fingers? What will that do for you? They don't see the relationship between digestion, assimilation, elimination, and health. Even thoughts, they don't see that we have to digest thoughts. People go crazy when they have thoughts they can't digest. Too disturbing to them. And therefore they get mental indigestion, and after some time they go crazy. Because the more mental indigestion we have, the more we lose our intelligence to see things properly. We become clouded over by our own desires and thoughts and anxieties. That they can't see, so they go to a psychiatrist and they give them some drugs. So you can't think anymore. And that's supposed to make you happy. You can't think, so you can't feel, and you hardly can will anymore. So you become like a vegetable, and that's progress to them. Because they don't know that there's another avenue of self-realization, to understand that there's another goal of life other than to aimlessly and incessantly gratify the senses with no real goal other than that, waiting to death. They believe to gratify the senses unto the end of life is the prime necessity of human civilization, and therefore there can be no measurement for their anxiety. So they're encouraging people to put themselves in a position for more and more anxiety, more and more disturbance, more and more destruction, and they call that progress. And they give them all kinds of technological inventions to help them in the progress of going to the darkest regions of existence. But here it mentions that we should accept Krishna. As it says here, we should try to come to the mode of goodness, so we can get some intelligence. Mode of goodness means we should find out what we're supposed to do, and then we should do it in the proper consciousness. And we can't find out what we're supposed to do unless we accept Krishna. Because even Varna and Ashram, where we're given the duties of Shudra, or Vaishya, or Brahmin, or Kshatriya, or Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi, even these depend upon Yagya by Vishnu. They're not just separate institutions. They're all meant for institutions meant to satisfy Krishna. And to the extent that they utilize to satisfy Krishna, they have some potency behind them. The Shudras assist, the Vaishyas get the material for the sacrifice, the Kshatriyas arrange the sacrifice, and the Brahmins perform the sacrifice. And therefore, Krishna is pleased, the demigod is pleased, and we get the necessities of life at least. And the whole idea is to recognize Krishna's position in the whole idea of sacrifice. That is, Krishna is controlling the demigods, who are controlling the rain, that produce the grains, that allow us to survive in these bodies, not simply to perform sacrifice, but to ultimately realize that the person controlling everything here is Krishna. And we're dependent on Krishna. And if we become independent, think ourselves independent of Krishna, and don't in some way perform sacrifice, either by the Sankirtan Yagya, chanting the holy names and distributing Krishna consciousness, if we don't do that and we don't perform Vanashram as a sacrifice for Vishnu, then the result is that we'll simply be doing nonsense activities, all in the aim of gratifying our senses, which will never be gratified. Instead of that, actually we'll get less food, we'll get less clean air, we'll get less clean water, we'll get less of everything. And the name is so-called progress independently of Krishna. So we can find this idea that Krishna is there. For most people, they have no understanding, no knowledge, and therefore they feel completely comfortable or uncomfortable, whatever they feel, in pursuing sense gratification and feeling satisfied if they can simply pay their bills and live in a house and eat something every day, like the animals. And if someone comes along and says there's another purpose of life, they think they have no time for it. They're too busy trying to secure this life, which is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf, just about to fall off. And since they don't want to perform any sacrifice in this age for Vishnu, because they don't believe in Vishnu, they think it's just a sentiment. They think the world is going on by accident. There was no God to create it. There's no God directing us. We are this part of the material energy. There's no difference between this microphone and me. Just that I think I'm something special, and therefore I'm puffed up. And the microphone is very humble, doesn't complain. So they'll think like that, and they'll think anyone who has some intelligence that explains this is just wasting their time. It could be out there making money and enjoying their senses. Before the lockdown gets full, they fully lock us all down. And then we'll have to try to enjoy inside the house instead of outside. So they may think like that, but the material nature is not so kind. Time is changing everything, and we're not going to be around here forever with our misconceptions. Eventually, everyone's going to pay obeisances, and that will be the end of their time. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Avadutta Rai Prabhu. One who takes shelter of your lotus feet can never be touched by the contamination of material work, material qualities or time. Question: how time contaminates?
Time doesn't contaminate. Where does it say that? What was it, where it say time contaminates? Time is over the three modes of material nature are the ones that change our consciousness. As Krishna says, Prabhavis tavad aboda jata maraj shabde, Prabhavis tavad aboda jata, yavana jignasita atmatatvam, yavan kriyas tavad idam manovai karmatmaka yena sharira bandhaha. That as long as one is not interested in self-realization, then one is said to be defeated by the material energy, namely ignorance. As long as one is defeated by ignorance, is acting in ignorance, then the mind will be covered. As long as the mind is covered, consciousness will be unclear. As long as our consciousness is unclear, then we'll have to take one body after another. So what gets contaminated is our mind, because we accept the modes of material nature, especially ignorance or passion. Because we desire out of ignorance, because we're already in ignorance, because we choose ignorance and passion to act in, therefore our mind becomes further colored by these energies, and therefore we become further bewildered in our activities. And therefore we take one body after another. So what's contaminating is the modes of nature, but they're contaminating us because we're choosing them. We're choosing to become contaminated by them because we desire to be contaminated. So the ultimate cause of the material existence is not the modes or time or Krishna, it's us. We choose to be here, try to control and enjoy.
There's one more.
We causelessly we have an unwillingness to serve Krishna.
There's one more question, Maharaj. Vishwanath Chakravarti writes that Ahankara is subservient to the Lord called Kala. How Ahankara is subservient to time or Kala?
Well, when time, Rityu Sarvareshchaham, when time takes everything away, we don't have our false ego in this body at least. We get another body. We get another false ego. Now we think with this human body, and we can become a dog in our next lifetime and think we have a false ego of a dog. So time will arrange what false ego we manifest. Hwala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.